When Michelangelo was asked, "How did you create the finest sculpture on earth?" he replied, "I didn't create him. All I did was chip away at all the marble that didn't look like him." In other words, David was already in there. He just needed to be revealed. We start acquiring layers in order to conform from an early age. That was certainly my experience when I entered the corporate world. I was scanning to see what successful people looked like, and then I would try and copy them. Before long, my desire to fit in meant that I was living a life of other people's expectations of me, rather than my own. I realize now that my desire to fit in order to survive in the system, meant that I had masked myself. Essentially, I had been dimming my own humanity. I've been on a journey the last couple of years. I've been unlearning in order to relearn, peeling off some of those layers that I'd acquired, in order to become more of myself, to express my humanity, just to become more Samie. People and their behaviors are the greatest driver of both value and of risk in organizations. Several recent cases surrounding companies' principles have arisen in the news, highlighting that the time and need for change is now. The investor community, regulators, policymakers are fast realizing that we have reached a melting point where addressing new world problems with old world thinking is no longer tenable. Trust in business is at an all-time low. Just look at financial service institutions. From the global financial crisis, the LIBOR scandal, mis-selling of PPI insurance, insider trading, the setting up of millions of fake customer bank accounts and associated email addresses, subprime mortgage, not to mention sanctions breaches, money laundering, and the funding of terrorist organizations, drug cartels, and human traffickers. But they are not alone. If you were to put in a search for recent corporate scandals, you will get a list that includes bloodied airline passengers, cultures of sexual harassment, bribery, embezzlement, spying on board members and investors, breaching of antitrust laws, the harvesting of data from millions of customers, devices that trick emissions readings. It seems to me like business has lost its way. It's lost touch with humanity. By putting profit before principles or value before values. The pendulum has swung too far towards growth at any cost, and the impact could be billions of dollars in write-downs, fines, not to mention the impact and the implications on society. So if business is all about people, why is it that good people can let bad things happen? It's almost as if we check out our humanity when we swipe our access card to go into work, and we regain it again when we leave the building. Well, for the longest time, we have been told if we are to appear successful, we should show up as being strong, credible, analytical, and driven. We're also told that money and status numbers are all important, and the way to achieve that is through rapid growth and ambition. It all feels very masculine. Qualities, characteristics, and traits that are traditionally recognized as being feminine, such as nurturing, intuition, compassion, empathy, have long gone unrecognized in workplace cultures, as opposed to traits, characteristics that are more masculine, such as being competitive, directive, goal-oriented, and assertive. Masculine cultures put an emphasis on the goal. Feminine cultures tend to put an emphasis on the process towards achieving that goal. And of course, the problem is not the goal. It's when we focus too much on the goal, we create blind spots, and that comes at the cost of our other responsibilities in business. To be clear, each one of us is made up of masculine and feminine traits. Both have strengths. But it seems to me like business prioritizes masculine traits and is not giving space for femininity in organizations. That is creating an imbalance, and as we just said, a lot of dysfunction in companies. It was Christine Lagarde, the chairwoman of the IMF, who said about Lehman Brothers, the former financial services firm that holds a record for the largest bankruptcy filing in US history. If it was Lehman Sisters, not Lehman Brothers, the world might well look different today. But to be clear, this isn't about men and women, male and female. It's about all of us making a choice not to suppress part of our humanity, our femininity in business. Let's tap into it as a source of power. We can help organizations to create from the feminine by using deep listening, collaboration, empathy, flexibility, and then from that space, tap into our masculine to deliver and execute on the goal. Business needs our humanity if we are going to create more balanced organizations that are going to be around for the long term. As humans, we have a fundamental need to be seen before we are heard and before we are spoken to. Like the three wise monkeys: see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. But employees don't feel seen and heard in companies today. Every one of us deserves the right, the opportunity to express all of our uniqueness, our character traits, bring our genius to the workplace. And the research is telling us employee engagement is also at an all-time low. A recent Gallup State of the Workplace Global Report says 85% of employees worldwide are either not engaged or actively disengaged. Those employees then likely lack a sense of motivational connection to the purpose, the culture of our organization. And it starts to become clear how people would then check their humanity out at work. That's how potentially good people can let bad things happen. So how does business engage us? By taking the hands off eyes and ears. But there is a problem. And the problem is, if I as a leader think that I've been promoted based on my opinions, and my employees look to me for my opinions, I'm creating a dynamic of giving and receiving opinions, failing to tap into somebody's humanity and to co-create something that is more meaningful for the long term. The answer is simple. It's a smile and looking into your team members' eyes when you walk into work. It's genuinely wanting to know the answer to the question, how are you today? It might be listening a bit deeper, listening for meaning. It could be sharing your perspective last in a team meeting. It might be just sending a note of thanks, appreciation, and recognition to somebody in your team. Just think about the time when somebody at work stepped out of their armor, stopped hiding behind their suit, and truly saw you, understood you. What happened? How was that for you? If we can get better at seeing and hearing people in business, it is more likely they will bring their humanity, therefore living their values and doing the right thing. It's also great for your bottom line, because I'm showing up more, you're getting all of me, and that's why business needs our humanity. Futurists predict that the next 20 years will see more change than the last 200. We are amidst the biggest fundamental change of work in our history. In fact, the future of work It's already here. It's already radically changing business models. We live in this digital, hyper-connected world surrounded by AI and VR. By 2024, artificial intelligence augmentation will be considered a prerequisite for most professional jobs, improving productivity and supporting us to analyze vast amounts of data. But there is one thing that robots can never be, and that is human. They can never have our emotions and our unique creativity. That's our edge. We have the opportunity to show up with our humanity everywhere and all of the time. Otherwise, we might be contributing to AI taking over some of our jobs. If we can awaken consciousness in business by giving space for people to show up more of themselves, organizations will be better primed to deal with the challenges of the day after tomorrow. But this doesn't mean stop growing your business. It doesn't mean start losing money. In fact, quite the opposite. Making money and doing good in the world are not mutually exclusive concepts. We've seen how short-termism can lead to unethical, aggressive cultures that promote growth at any cost. In contrast, the B Corporation movement, with thousands of companies around the world showing the power of profit with purpose. Not just being the best in the world, but the best for the world. Business can no longer be a bystander in the community that gives it life in the first place. Society charters our right to operate, and it's time for us now to redress the balance, to fix that pendulum. The opportunity for all of us is to give people space to be even more of themselves and to show their full humanity. That's why some companies are now moving away from quarterly reporting, so that people don't have to obsess every 12 weeks on numbers, growth, targets. They can also deliver on the purpose, values, and culture. And if we were to take one of the roots of the word culture, we get cultivation of the soul. That makes sense to me, because we are working here with the soul and the root, the vulnerabilities and strengths of both person and organization. Both are searching for meaning, a reason for being in today's day and age. And we feed each other. The person feeds the organization as the organization feeds the person. But we must both be awake and conscious to this relationship if it is going to thrive. When I think about the challenges that face us in business, the iceberg is directly ahead. If the Titanic ship had moved 1 degree a couple of moments earlier, it would have sailed safely past the iceberg. Now what if we were to make a 1 degree shift to avoid our iceberg, and like Michelangelo, choose to expose our humanity by honoring masculine and feminine in business, and also getting better at seeing and hearing people? For that is perhaps the greatest risk, for us to be seen for who we truly are. Nevertheless, I invite you to take that risk. Who will you express your humanity to, starting today? My favorite mathematical equation is small multiplied by many equals big. And that's how collectively we will bring our humanity to business. Thank you.